I'm going on an adventure!
Long ago, in a land far away to the east, the like of which you will not find in the world today.
So imagine that you were an actor who played a hobbit or a dwarf in these films. You would need to film all of your scenes next to one of the big doors. But if you were Ian McKellen, the actor who played Gandalf the Wizard, these are your doors because you need to appear really tall on camera.
Okay.
Forced perspective is what this film technique is called, and they needed to use this technique because Elijah Wood, the actor who played Frodo, one of the Hobbits, he was only 4 inches or 10 centimetres shorter than Ian McKellen in reality. So not actually much difference between the heights of these actors. Another good example of forced perspective is when both Gandalf and Frodo come riding into Hobbiton. Bifurcations across New Zealand for these 2 trilogies. But what makes this one special is it's the only remaining set, so the others are just locations. There's forests, lakes, and farms. This one actually looks like it did during the film.
In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with ends of worms and oozy smells. Not yet dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort.
There's a 4-second aerial shot in The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, bird's eye view, and in The Return of the King, the final Lord of the Rings film, there is a 4-second panning shot. The camera pans from where we're standing to the footpath we walked along on the other side of the pond. So that means the movie set to be as faithful to the books as possible. The reason why they didn't plant real plum trees is because they grow too big and their size and perspective is wrong for actors who are trying to be hobbits. So instead they improvised by planting apple and pear trees and quince trees, and then they turned them into fake plum trees. All of that work was for no screen time at all, not even 1 second. Then they came and they rebuilt the set, they replanted the set for the Hobbit trilogy 10 years afterwards, and they planted apple, pear and quince trees again. But this time it was on purpose, to serve as a reminder of the mistake they made 10 years before. So it's an inside joke for the director Peter Jackson. When he came back, he had a good chuckle, and also the art department as well. It's the best photo spot in the village, in my opinion. But you get a fantastic view looking down the valley towards the Green Dragon. We have water that could serve as the Brandywine River from the books. They also wanted rolling countryside with a big hill where they could build Bag End and the rest of the village. The final thing that they really wanted, if possible, was a big round tree at the centre of the whole location. So this place was perfect. Also, Peter Jackson wanted a farm with no visible 20th century clutter. So no power lines, no roads, no houses. That's the other reason why this place was perfect. And even now, 21 years later, it still looks pretty much the same as it did when they first discovered it. So the crazy thing is, the Alexander family were going to cut down that tree in 1997, just 1 year before the location scouts discovered this farm. So if they cut down that tree and turned it into firewood, we probably wouldn't be here today. So sometimes procrastinating is a good thing. And the windows go 180 degrees around the hillside, so it is the largest of all the houses. They filmed a few scenes from the inside looking out, when we see Bilbo walking down the steps and along the path. That was filmed from the inside there, so they needed to do some interior decoration, like the wallpaper that you see there, to create the illusion that there's a house inside. Of course, that's also important for when the actors walk into the house. But when we see Gandalf knocking on that door, it's not Ian McKellen, it's his body double, Tall Paul. Ian McKellen would look like a hobbit standing next to this 100% human scale hobbit hole. So Ian McKellen would need to film his scenes in front of the 60% version, which was in Wellington at Stone Street Studios. And that's where they did the interior sets as well. So that's why Ian McKellen, or Gandalf, hits his head on the ceiling, because the actor wasn't used to filming inside a house that had a roof about this high. So it's actually on accident when he hits his head on the ceiling in the movie. It wasn't scripted. So that's a cool bit of trivia for you to remember when you're watching the movies again with your friends and family. Alright, we're going to continue now down. There's another 7 hobbit holes to see before we get to the party field. Go down the hill, down Bagshot Road, as the signpost says. And then we will arrive at the party field. The party field is open, so we're allowed to walk on the grass at the party field. So that's the only exception to the rule, staying off the grass.
Was this this pub here? Was this in the set?
Yeah, it was constructed too for the filming.
Yeah.
But only the outside was built, so there wasn't an interior. The interior was completed in December 2012. So in time for the first movie to be released in theatres.
And then made especially for here.
Here we are in Hobbiton, Tracy and I in New Zealand for Blue Planet Travellers. Cheers.
Cheers, we're having an amber ale made specifically for here, nowhere else.
Okay, this scene is called Get Off the Road. Okay? So the first thing we've got here is young Elijah Wood playing Frodo Baggins. Alright? Basically, these guys are foraging for mushrooms, if you can remember that scene. So we've just been speaking about mushrooms over there. Oh, here come the rest of my group. Foraging for mushrooms. And if you look here at this tree with this beautiful branch sticking out, it is literally the tree behind Wayne with the beautiful branch sticking out over the road. All
Where
right.
I'm standing is where Frodo was standing.
Absolutely. There you are. Yeah, and then you've got the hobbits just behind him, foraging in the open area there for mushrooms. All right. So if you can remember here, Frodo stands up and goes, I think we should get off the road. Okay, these guys aren't listening at all. Okay, they're still foraging. All right. And then he looks down a path. But if you look behind you, that is not what we are seeing in this picture. Okay, in the film, it's this shot. That is what we're looking at. All right. So that is actually the suburb of Brooklyn. Okay, so Peter Jackson didn't want that in his film. All right. So he decided to go 250 meters down the hill that way. All right, and find this beautiful pathway that looks like a tunnel. All right, you can see the branches have all grown into like a circular motion. Okay, and they did a very, very clever camera trick here. Oh, it just spat everywhere. Sorry. It's called the it's called the vertigo effect or the Hitchcock effect. All right, Alfred Hitchcock in the film Vertigo first invented this. Set up kind of a little track on the floor, make a little trolley, put your camera on that trolley, and pull towards you as you zoom in at the same time, and that gives you a feeling as though you're being sucked into the screen. Do the Hobbit hideaway. All right. Basically, Peter Jackson was told, you can film wherever you want in New Zealand, that's fine, just as long as you take away anything you build and you return New Zealand as you find it. This tree, this entire root system is all fake. All right, it was all built by Weta Workshop.
But these poor four guys who did volunteer didn't know they'd have to roll down there as many as 30 times. Jacko was always great for his different camera angles and his motto, one more for luck, even after the second time he'd done it. Samwise Gamgee, Sean Astin, born in Santa Monica. He was one of the last people to actually sign up to do the movies. When he came over, he didn't actually research his role. He was actually quite a slim guy. And then Jacko said, well, didn't you do your homework? Samwise is a fat hobbit.
Have a game of riddles.
And if it loses, what then? Well, if it loses, precious, then we eat it. If Baggins loses, we eat it whole.